Hey, are you ready to turn your podcast into an authority engine and not just more content? Well, welcome to Influential Voices of Authority. This is the podcast for coaches, consultants, and information experts who are ready to stop being the best kept secret in their niche and move to being that recognized, sought after authority. I'm your host, Erik K. Johnson, podcast talent coach and media veteran. In every episode of Influential Voices of Authority, I sit down with industry leaders and visibility experts to uncover how they use their voice, their platform, and their message to build trust, grow their audience, and attract premium clients. So if you're ready to turn your voice into your greatest asset, you're in the right place. Welcome to Influential Voices of Authority. You know, sometimes, many times, we need a strong purpose in life to push us through those hard times, those times that want to make us quit, those times that just get us to lean in and start throwing in the towel. A lot of times summer's like that because summer is my downtime. Everybody is kind of on vacation and traveling, and I'm not doing very many sales calls, strategy calls, calls with individuals. So my calendar frees up quite a bit in the summer. And then as we get closer to August, it really takes off. But it happens outside of my podcast as well. You know, I coach high school hockey. I've coached this particular team. I've coached high school hockey for I think I'm going into my 24th season. I've coached this particular team here for 15 seasons. And right now we're gearing up for our summer camp. So the excitement is starting to build a little bit. What's possible for the new season? What's possible for this new crop of kids that are coming in? But this past season didn't finish the way we would like it to. Let's put it like that. It wasn't quite all that we had hoped. I love coaching the kids. So I coach a high school team. It's a club hockey team. We're in a league of about 14 teams, freshmen through seniors on the team, and they are fantastic. But this past season, so now I've coached the team for 15 seasons, this particular team, and we've been in the championship game 6 out of those 15 seasons. So it's been a pretty good run. We've had a great group of kids, but this past season, not so much. This past season, we finished with 6 wins, 17 losses, and 3 ties. So not quite the season we had hoped for. We finished 12th out of 14 teams. So we'll have a really good draft pick when it comes around. But being 12th out of 14, not really where we want to finish. But if that's all we focused on, so many of us would want to throw in the towels, but we had some fantastic moments, really incredible moments. We elected Blake as our captain this year. Blake came in as a freshman, really quiet, shy sort of kid, didn't talk very much. I don't think I saw Blake lay a check on somebody, lay a body hit on somebody until his senior season. He was just that kind of kid, but he grew into being an amazing leader for us. And just seeing him blossom into a leader and a fine young man was absolutely fantastic. Trevor was one of the kids on our team. He was a junior this past season, scored his very first high school goal, and the kids absolutely mobbed him on the ice. It was such a great moment to see. Matthew's our little goalie. Matthew started with us as a freshman. And he just finished his sophomore season, but he's small. He's barely over 5 foot. But he had a shutout, didn't let a goal in the entire game, and the kids mobbed him for that. And so we had some really great moments. We graduated 5 amazing seniors this year, including Blake, our captain, who will greatly miss. And we had some fantastic moments throughout the season, even though the record wasn't what we had hoped. And if we had only judged the success of the season by wins, everyone would quit. I mean, the whole team would have thrown in the towel. My goal as a hockey coach is to teach these boys how to become respectable young men, how to grow into that responsibility. Because I truly believe that the sport of hockey, playing it, coaching it, being around it, hockey teaches you so much more about life than it does about hockey if you let it. And that's what I hope to help these kids do, is learn about life, learn how to deal with setbacks, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with the highs and the lows and your emotions that come with that. And when we approach it without a strong purpose, if we approach anything in life without a strong purpose, it becomes difficult to continue. And right now, we're starting into our 8-week summer program. We're going to pick up 3 or 4 new players this season. It's time to get excited again about what's possible, regardless of the record from last year. And that's also important with your podcast and your business as well, because impact happens when you serve a mission bigger than yourself. When you step back and serve a mission bigger than yourself, that's when you start making a difference in the world. That's when you start getting known. And that's why I have invited Jedlie on the show today. He is the host of an award-winning podcast. It's called Reading with Your Kids. It's one of the world's most listened to family literacy podcasts. And you think, well, everybody makes that claim. Jedlie has over 2,400 episodes published of his podcast, 2,400. It's amazing. Jedlie's a former social worker. He's an educational magician. He goes in and does magic shows at schools to teach kids how to become respectful young adults. It's amazing. He spent over 35 years inspiring children and families through reading, through creativity, and through kindness. He helps authors, schools, and organizations use podcasting and storytelling, just like we talk about, to connect with audience and create lasting impact. You see, Jedlie's primary goal is to help families grow closer through reading, so kids develop a true love of reading. That's his mission. He also helps these authors promote their books. His Reading with Your Kids podcast has been nominated for the iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award. He has loves what he does because of the mission, not because of the downloads or how it grows his business. That's all a byproduct of his love of the mission. He didn't become successful because he was trying to become a podcast celebrity. He didn't create 2,400 episodes because he found some clever marketing tactic. He built an authority platform because he found a mission that he genuinely cared about. And that is helping families build stronger relationships through reading. And now his impact is felt throughout the U.S., throughout Canada, throughout Central America. It's been amazing. He has created better readers. He has created better relationships, and he has created better outcomes for children. And Jedlie is here on the show today to discuss exactly how he makes that impact by serving a mission bigger than himself. So enjoy my conversation with Jedlie. Jedlie, it is great to see you. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Erik, so great to see you too. Thanks for having me here. I am so looking forward to speaking to you.
I can't wait to have this conversation. I use you as an example so often when I'm teaching because of the way that you use your podcast just to make an impact in the world. But your current Reading with Your Kids podcast wasn't your first podcast. Tell us about the first podcast you started and what was the impetus of that?
The first podcast I started was before I met you, Erik. It was called Funky Jesus Music. And we're interviewing Christian recording artists. And there were a couple things going on at the time. My daughter was in high school and wanted to get into the Christian music industry. Here in the Northeast, the bands that play the big arenas down south, when they came, especially 14 years ago, when they came up to the Northeast, they were playing in like church basements and things like that, and they relied on volunteer help. So my daughter wanted to help out and make connections. She was too young to go by herself, so I'd be going with her. So I'm making the same connections. I'm like, wow, I'm like talking to these multi-platinum artists, and at the same time, my son was talking a lot of stuff about him starting a podcast, and I'm like, well, why don't you do it, dude? And he's like, no, it's very complicated. You got to do this, and so I picked up a book, I read it, and I go, this is easy. So I just went at it, and it was a blast. I had a fun time with that podcast. It didn't really go anywhere. Didn't get a lot of downloads.
Tell
And
me about the first day that you launched it. Like day one, your son saying, "Oh, it's crazy, it's complicated." And you're like, "This is easy." And when you hit publish, what kind of emotions were you going through?
Wow. This is a long time ago. I you know I don't know that it was all that emotional. You see, when I was in eighth grade, which is like almost 100 years ago, me and my buddies made these things. We call them tape radio, and we just sit down and we'd call. We had a show called the Sports Nut, and we would call people in Boston sports, broadcasters and sometimes athletes, and we just share the cassette tapes with our friends. So, and we try to get on a radio station, and so that was like I remember those emotions when we got invited to go to the radio station and pitch it. Um,
Was it a
but
radio station in Boston?
it was, yeah, what is WBOS? It was a tiny, teeny tiny radio station that, I think you
Okay.
could hear if you're on the roof and you're holding, tinfoil or something. Um, but it was fun, just getting in there, getting in the door and having them, consider it was kind of a blast. We're in, like I said, eighth grade.
Yeah, I made plenty of cassette tapes when I was a kid. Just
Yeah.
hit and record off the radio and all kinds of
Yep.
like pretending I was the weatherman and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
how long did Funky Jesus music last?
Funky Jesus music lasted, I think we did about 40 episodes, so maybe a year, maybe 6 months, a year, something like that.
Okay.
A lot of fun. Like I said, I had this, I learned a great lesson doing Funky Jesus music. So I had this, somebody reached out to me on social media and they said, "Hey, you should have this guy on your show. He's great, a new talent." I'd never heard of him. I reached out to him. He said, "Yeah, I'm free tomorrow morning." Cool. So I listened to a song. He came on. His name was spelled Thulin. And I said, "Hey, we have Jonathan Thulin here on the radio." And I'm talking to him for half an hour and referring to him as Jonathan Thulin, Jonathan Thulin. And at the end of the half hour, he said, "By the way, I'm from Sweden. My name is pronounced Tulin." And I said, "Well, that's too bad. You should have told me that half an hour."
30 minutes ago would have been good to know that.
Exactly, exactly.
No,
So
thank
now
you.
it's like, I pronounce your name Jack Smith. Okay, great. Just making sure.
Yes, yeah. The Smith is the traditional. Okay, good. Got it. Yeah, got it. So then after Funky Jesus music, then what was the next transition?
Then was We Choose Respect. As you know, I made a living doing educational magic shows for 35 years. And what I was looking to do was create some synergy between a podcast, because I really dug doing the podcast, and my school shows. And the thought was, well, I'll go in and the kids will get excited. They'll see my show. And the show is all about making healthy choices and being respectful to one another and building cultures, bully-free cultures in their school. And so they'll tell their parents about this show called We Choose Respect, and the parents will listen, and this will help build a culture of respect. You were very influential in helping me kind of put that together and helping me let the world know about it. It was, again, a lot of fun. I didn't quite get the synergy going between the school show and the podcast. Um, but I kind of knew it was time to. I was interviewing a lot of parenting experts and psychologists and things like that. And I actually fell asleep during an interview because they were all saying the same thing. And I said, thankfully it was on Skype, so it was just audio. So the
Yeah.
person didn't notice I fell asleep. So I said, we got to do something else. And at
How
that point,
how many how many episodes of We Choose Respect did you get through?
that was 100 and something.
Okay. All
And
right. Couple years.
yeah, a couple years. And again, it was fun. One of the things I did was I interviewed a couple of kids authors as part of We Choose Respect, and talking to them about the power of reading with your kids. and I really liked it. And the authors were so much different than the strengths and the psychologies and the parenting experts. They were genuine people that I enjoyed talking to. Um, and so when that ended, I'm like, I still want to do a podcast. And I talked to some experts, and they said, Jedlie, you're doing a lot of shows in Catholic schools, and your faith is important to you. So there's I think you should do a Catholic podcast. That's absolutely the thing that you should do. That would be perfect. So I got everything set up. I had a name, I had a domain, I forget what it was, but it was all set up, and I was just about to hit enter. And I thought, wow, if I'm doing a Catholic podcast, I should probably say a prayer before I launch it. So I did. And like, is this what I'm supposed to do? And I got a very clear message that it's not what you're supposed to do. And I thought a little bit, and by the end of that day, reading with your kids was together. I had the domain, we had a logo. I took some of the children's authors that I'd had on We Choose Respect. We re-recorded it, so I had like 4 or 5 episodes to kind of launch with while I was lining up other interviews, and that was 2017.
And so how many episodes of reading with your kids do you have now?
A few over 2,400.
2,400. That's a long jump from the 40 something of the funky Jesus music. I think you
Yeah,
found your calling there.
yeah. This one has some staying power.
That's pretty cool. You have a really unique package that you offer to authors to help them get exposure. I'm a big fan of borrowed trust. If you can find somebody who already has the trust of an audience and you can get them to introduce you to that audience, you borrow that trust, and so you're not starting from scratch. And these authors are borrowing the trust that you've already built over 2,400 episodes each time they come on your show. Tell me a little bit about how you help authors get exposure and what that package looks like.
Sure, we call it our Certified Great Read program, and we have a panel of parents, teachers, and kids, and it rotates. And authors will ask to have their books reviewed. And if our panel thinks that it's worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. Not every book gets the certified great read status. I'll be very honest. I want my panel to be generous, and but if a book's doesn't turn them on, if it's not well written, it doesn't pass muster. And so they get the Certified Great Read Award. We have a seal of approval that they can use on their website and have printed on their books. We we read the review on our podcast. We post the review on our website. We actually submit the review to Amazon, Goodreads, Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. We create a short animated video announcing the book. Erik's kid book is fantastic. We show some graphics and things like that. And now we create an original song that goes with the video. Celebrating the book. They get a certificate. It's a neat little bit. And what we're trying to do right now is help authors do more than just collect awards. So we're like, hey, this is how you can use the award. You can add award-winning author to your bio when you're sending out a pitch. Hey, my book was selected to be a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. That kind of thing. Helping them write pitches to help them get on other podcasts, helping them create press releases and things like that. So we really want to give the authors a lot of bang for their buck. And we think compared to the other book award programs that are out there, we're doing it pretty good.
Do you interview those authors then on your show as well?
Well, most of the authors who submit their books are guests, and that they find out about the program by being on the show. We don't
Got it.
charge folks to be on the show, but at the end of an interview, I'll say thanks a lot. We think we'll get this published in June. By the way, we have some paid promotional services. If those can be of service to you, want to know some more, let me know. And it's usually the indie and self-published authors who are like, yeah, let me find out about that.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Um, let's jump back to you doing magic and doing these school shows. What was the craziest thing that's ever happened to you during a performance when you're up performing your magic show?
Okay. Puerto Rico, Utuado, Puerto Rico, way up in the mountains. I arrive at the school first thing in the morning. Everybody there is crying. Teachers, kids, the security guard that let me in. I finally found somebody, and I'm not fluent in Spanish. And my show, I'm memorized. I can do it. I can hold simple conversations. Finally, find somebody who can tell me. They say the night before, one of their fifth graders or a bunch of fifth graders were out playing catch, and it's the rainy season, and it started to rain, but the kids stayed outside. The ball went over this one kid's head. He went into the bush to get it, and he disappeared. And everybody in the village figured that the ball must have rolled down to the river. He went down to get it. The river was swollen, swallowed him up, took him away. And at that point, I said, my goodness, I'm so sorry. Please, I'll just go back to the hotel. You don't worry about it. I completely understand. You don't want, no, 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 no. You have to make our kids happy. And I thought that's the craziest, most inappropriate, but okay.
No pressure.
So there's no big, this is a small school. So we're in like a little multi-purpose room, and the kids I can touch, they're so close. And they all come in and they're all crying. They're bawling their eyes out. And I do a trick and they laugh and they clap and then they start crying again. And this is going back, and it's 45 minutes of crying, laughing, crying, laughing. Finally, I have a levitation illusion. I levitate the girl, and when she comes down and she comes to take her bow, a police officer walks in and he kind of snatches the microphone away from me, and he said, "Hey, I know we're all out looking for Wilfredo until 2 o'clock this morning. We found his body." And the place went,
Oh Lord.
and he's alive. The kids went crazy. They're jumping. I have white face on. People coming up and they're giving me hugs and kisses. They're walking away with makeup on their face. It's crazy. So I'm breaking down the show. I'm very happy. Nice ending. People coming to me and they're pulling me and push like you gotta. And I have no idea what they're talking about. And my beautiful wife is back in Boston. This is before cell phones. So I find the phone and I call my wife. And I said, baby, I don't know what these people want me to do. They're just, she gets on the phone. I get the phone back, speak to my wife. She says, get the hell out of there. They think you rose some kid from the bottom of a river and they want you to heal the people and the old people in the neighborhood. They want you to
No.
heal her. And I'm saying, oh, thank you. And I said, everybody, momentito, packed my van and boom.
Oh man, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that, that,
They
that
they
was
thought you brought him back.
exactly. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Tell
That was
me,
about 30 years ago.
what kind of doors has your podcast opened for you? What has that made possible?
Wow. I have talked to the coolest, most interesting people in the world, in addition to the indie authors that I love. Um, just to give you an example, today is Wednesday. Yesterday's episode featured Angela Santamero, who was the creator of Blues Clues. Blues Clues was a TV show me and my daughter watched. It was appointment TV every morning. And it was a great show that taught kids, 3-year-olds, critical thinking skills. And I started the interview by saying to Angela, Angela, I know you got a new project and we'll talk about it, but I got to thank you for all the hours of joy that you brought me and my daughter. Watched every morning. And Angela didn't say thank you. What she said, I bet your daughter is really smart and really successful. And I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, she is. And next Thursday's episode will feature an interview with Dr. Catherine Sullivan, who is the first American woman to walk in space. And then she
Wow.
also explored the Mariana Trench. And we've had Ziggy Marley on the show, and Christina Perry, and LeVar Burton. And yeah, and again, and just indie author. I've made become friends with lots of the authors who've been on the show, and those are friendships I value a ton. Um, and we just happened to be nominated for the iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award.
Congratulations. That's pretty
Thank you.
impressive.
That was a
That's
while
awesome.
ago. That was a while ago.
So, going back, how did you use the podcast to build your authority in a children's author space, coming from being a magician, helping kids and bullying in school and such, in order to get people like LeVar Burton on the show?
Well, LeVar was an interesting that first 2 years, 2017 and 18. Um, I was begging indie authors from all over the world, and the good thing is there are thousands of books published every month, so there's lots of authors out there. And so the authors were coming on. I think you and I were working together at that time. We had created the Certified Great Read program. My son texted me one morning as I'm doing interviews, and he said, "You should have LeVar Burton on your podcast." And I said, "Yeah," and I should have $1 million in the bank, but neither one of those things are going to happen. Um, but I thought, what the heck? I went online, I found a website, I reached out. It was lucky because LeVar was just launching a kind of a spoken word theater tour,
Oh, wow.
and that I wasn't aware of, but I reached out and said, "Hey, I'd like to have LeVar on the show." And I got a response 3 days later from his wife saying, "We're good to go." And he came on, and that really changed the trajectory of the show a lot. It was short. We started hitting #1 on iTunes a whole lot.
Hey, before we get back to my conversation with Jedlie, I want to highlight something really important that Jedlie was talking about. Most people look at a podcast with 2,400 episodes and celebrity guests and award nominations and think, man, that's amazing. I wish I could have results like that. But those results didn't happen because Jedlie got lucky. That happened because he stayed committed to a mission. He had a strategy and a purpose, and he stayed true to it. He didn't start out interviewing LeVar Burton or national celebrities. He started by having conversations. He started by building relationships and consistently showing up. And then he let one opportunity lead to another. He used that borrowed trust. One relationship opened the door to the next relationship. One guest created credibility with the next guest. That's how authority is built. It's borrowed trust. It's the flywheel. It's growing exponentially. Authority doesn't happen in one big moment. It compounds over time. The challenge that most podcasters face is that they're creating content without a strategy. They're publishing episodes every week, but they're not intentionally building authority with a strategy. They're not creating opportunities or positioning themselves as the go-to expert in their space. And that's exactly why I created the Podcast Authority Audit. This is where I review your podcast, your messaging, your positioning, and your overall authority strategy to identify the gaps that might be keeping your show from creating the impact, influence, and opportunities you deserve. This is a deep dive into your show to find where those gaps exist and to help you succeed, build your authority, and create your impact. You can learn all about it over at podcasttalentcoach.com/coaching. That's podcasttalentcoach.com/coaching. Now let's get back to my conversation with Jedlie. Was he the first really big, well-known name that you had on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so
After
do
that,
you use that? Do you start dropping LeVar Burton as you're inviting other guests?
every invitation.
Yeah.
Right. I went from we were downloaded to every continent except Antarctica. And then I just happened to have an author on who wrote a book about penguins, and he did it because he was an Antarctica scientist. And I made a joke. I said, "Well, we've been downloaded to every continent except Antarctica." And he made a phone call and he called me back the next week. He goes, by the way, they just downloaded it to Antarctica to listen. So it was including Antarctica. And then LeVar came on the show and it was like, and we had LeVar Burton on and Candace Cameron Bure. And yeah, it just kind of kept going.
That's fantastic. I love that. What's your current business model right now? Where's the revenue being generated? Are you still doing magic shows or is it just the author great read? What
It's,
are we looking at?
well, my beautiful wife and I are very blessed. The show doesn't have to make money, but it's nice when it does.
Yeah.
It's really it's a labor of love. We have a couple of things. We have the Certified Great Read program, and then we try to do a monthly promotion program where I'll go to a live, either educational, some kind of reading kid related event. Typically, I'm not performing, although sometimes I'm invited to perform. Uh, for example, the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, I've been there a couple of times, and I traded a couple of live shows there at the event for a booth at the fair. And so an author will get a package of commercials on the podcast, messages to our social media followers, and space on our table at our exhibit booth. And so we don't have anything going in the summertime, but in the fall, there are a couple of educational conferences that we'll be at, and it varies. Reading association conferences, if one of the things we love doing is working with the school to help them host a literacy event where
Oh,
their
wow.
families are coming in and they're seeing a magic show and then they're meeting, um, seeing some authors' books and getting some free bookmarks and things like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
When I was 15, I was a magician for kids' birthday parties. That was my first kind of true venture into entrepreneurism. I wasn't a very good magician. I was decent. I had some good
Uh-huh.
tricks, but I had tricks. I didn't have a show. I didn't.
Okay.
It wasn't stringed on. And then I would go and see. I would go and see David Copperfield or a lot of the great magicians at the time, and I was like, man, that's a show. I don't
Mhm.
have anything close to a show. Of all of the magicians in history, who was your favorite?
Well, before I answer that, what was your favorite trick?
That I performed or that I
Yeah.
watched?
That you performed.
Oh, my favorite trick that I performed was I had a jug of milk, a pitcher of milk,
Uh-huh.
and I would roll up a cone of newspaper, and I would pour the milk into the newspaper, about half of it, and then I would crumple up the newspaper, and the milk would be gone.
Yeah, that's a great trick. Milk vanish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one, and then scotch and soda, where I have two coins, and I make them one of them disappear and turns into a quarter.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, you weren't bad.
Yeah,
You were doing some
yeah,
good stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
For me, one of it was really lucky. Penn and Teller had the biggest effect on my show. But before I tell you about them, I think I fell in love with magic at a very late age. I got into performing as a clown, and around that time, I saw Doug Henning perform live,
Yeah.
and just a whole kind of hippie love, and
Yeah.
it's like it's not look at me, it's like look at the magic around us kind of thing. And so that's kind of who I styled my show around. Um, but the trajectory of those shows changed after meeting Penn and Teller. My beautiful wife took me to see them when they're on tour in Boston. They did a levitation illusion, and we met them after the show. And Penn was very happy to chat with my beautiful wife. And my wife turned to Teller and said, tell Jed, how do you do that thing with the girl floating in the air? And I go, you can't ask her. And Teller was like, oh no, let me tell you. And it was a commercial trick and told me about it. And I did some research and we made the investment into the props. And from that moment on, even though I was still acting goofy and wearing whiteface and a big goofy wig, people started saying, "Oh, you're not a clown, you're a magician." And I'm still a clown in my heart, but being able to do this seemingly very advanced trick and illusion, people just say, no, we're because people here in the States they don't respect the art of clowning like they do around the rest of the world. So
Yeah,
I kind of
absolutely. I
understand it.
would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. When you see a great clown, you realize the art of clowning. Like, who was the guy that used to be the ringmaster of the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus with the really big tall hair?
Oh, Bellow Knock.
Yes, he
Yes.
he was fascinating. Just
Yep.
watching him control a crowd was great.
Yep.
Um, so what's next in the journey with the podcast and the business and the authors and the whole shoot match?
One of the things we're really trying right now to create a movement. I want to continue to offer the certified great read program, and we've added a lot. So we're gonna be raising the fee on that. I'm trying to still keep it reasonable, but too many people are telling me you're not charging enough, which is the story of my life. Um, but I really want. I, I started the podcast because I know the relationship I have with my now adult kids was built on a foundation of reading together, and that led to watching Blue's Clues together and cooking together and doing all sorts of things and continuing to read with my daughter when she was in high school and college and talking about books, and the same with my son with anime and graphic novels. And so that's why I launched the show. It's like, yeah, I want people to have that bond. But then I find out where there are so many other benefits. Of course, you read with your kids 20 minutes a day, chances are they're going to be reading when they get to kindergarten. But if they are reading before they get to kindergarten, they will have heard over 1 million more words than the peers who weren't read to. And that's an advantage that you just can't make that up. And kids who are read to are way more successful in life on average. They're more empathetic. They're happier. There's so many benefits when we read with our kids. So that's and continue to read with our kids after they become independent readers and have that bond. And if you want to talk to your kid, I have so many parents talking to me. It's like, I don't know, how am I going to talk to my kid about drugs? Like, we'll start talking about it now. What? They're 3. Yeah, we'll read a book and start talking about making healthy choices because the character in the book has to make a choice. And that way, when they're 16, you're not sitting down like, we have to have a conversation. It's like you have an ongoing conversation that started when you were 3. So, I really want to start a movement where we're pairing with schools and civic organizations to get parents excited about reading with their kids. I'd love to work with the school to help them launch their own local podcast where they're using some of our, because we have a little bit of content in the can, use some of our repurposed content to create an interesting show, short show that kids and parents will want to listen to. Help the schools create some content, and whether it's if we go in there and help them 8 or 10 weeks to get families excited about a thing, and they decide to keep their local podcast going, awesome. But if not, if it becomes a yearly thing that they do for a couple of months every year, that would be great too. Just as long as we start building that culture of reading and helping kids fall in love with reading.
Well, with 2,400 episodes under your belt, I think you're well on your way to creating that movement. That is that I and I am I'm honored to have been a part of that journey back years ago. As we worked together, what was your one big takeaway from our time together?
I remember it very clearly. We talked about celebrating books, that we were helping authors celebrate books. And so the audience was hearing us celebrate in the sense that this is a great book. But me and the author, we were talking about selling a great, we're spelling with an S, SELL. And that, when we had that conversation, it really helped me. And so it helped me go, okay, well, we got the certified great read thing, and I got this live show. And can I trade a live show for a booth? And the Chicago Touring Game Fair was the first. That's a big deal. Like the booths were like 10 grand or something. And I'm like, hey, gee whiz, could you let me have a booth if I do a couple magic shows for you? And they said yes. And I'm like, wow, they value my show more than I do.
Yeah, barter's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
great. Well, Jedlie, it's been great catching up with you. I love that the show continues on, 2,400 episodes into it. I love that the Certified Great Read program has really taken off and been successful. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you, man. I'm delighted that you're still out here helping people in the land of podcasts because I think this is the future of communication. I think this is just going to grow. I hope terrestrial radio sticks around, but in the meantime, podcasts are the next wave.
Absolutely. Individual service, like you get exactly what you want and when you want it, which is why I love podcasting.
Yeah.
Jed, it's
Amen.
great to see you. I hope we do this again soon.
Thanks, Eric.
What a great conversation with Jedlie. I so appreciate that he took time to be on the show today. I played a small part in what Jedlie's done. Jedlie has been amazing, leaning into celebrating authors so that he can accomplish his mission. Because your impact happens when you have a mission behind it, when you have a purpose that's greater than yourself. And if this starts to hit home for you, and if you start to realize that, man, you've been stuck doing all the work, you've been creating all of this content, but you're really not getting the results you desired when you originally started out. If you think, man, I should be so much further along than I am by now, then it's time to fix it. And I can help because your podcast should not be just content that you create every week. Your podcast should be building your authority strategically and methodically, not burying you in busy work. And that's why I created the Podcast Authority Audit. In the Podcast Authority Audit, we deep dive into an episode of your show to find where your authority is leaking and how we plug those holes, fix it, and get you the results you deserve. I go through your show, I go through your content, your positioning. I show you exactly where your authority is leaking. And more than that, what to do to turn it all around and turn your podcast into a client generating machine, a pre-selling system, an authority growing, dominating podcast. So if you're ready to move from being the best kept secret and you're ready to start becoming that recognized, sought after authority in your niche like Jedlie, well, head over to podcasttalentcoach.com/coaching. That's podcasttalentcoach.com/coaching. You can find all the details about the Podcast Authority Audit right there. Apply today and let's start closing your gap. Let's turn your voice into influence. Thanks again for being here this week. I can't wait until we do it all again. On next week's show, we're going to talk to Andrea Stenberg. She is a visibility strategist. She's a media veteran and now a podcast host. She helps her clients turn their expertise into influence through authentic storytelling. A lot of what we talk about right here on Influential Voices of Authority. She is going to show you how to take one podcast episode and turn it into a week's worth of content and how you can use that to grow your authority, your influence, and your business. That's all on next week's show. Can't wait to see you then. Until then, remember to step into your authority, and we'll see you next time.